You make a lot of decisions every day, but this one could be the most important decision that you make. So every week, and it's like every week without fail, there's some cybersecurity story or some breach that it amazes me when I have clients who, and there's only a couple of them, no matter what I tell them, no matter how much advice I give, no matter how much we talk about strategy, they still don't want to go all in and put the things in place that should be in place for cybersecurity to reduce their risk. So inevitably, last week, and what is today's date? Today is July 31st, 2024. So this was last week. I get a call from one of the people on my team, and he's like, "Hey, just want to let you know, so-and-so company just had their third email breach. And this is like the third breach in, it's got to be 4 or 5 months. Now, the last 2 times they had a breach, I told them the same exact thing. You need to put email security monitoring in place. You need to put network security monitoring in place. I went down the whole list of everything that they should put in place. They said, well, it's not in the budget. And this is the thing with small and medium businesses. And I mean, when I say a small business, you could be doing up to like 100 million in revenue. When I say medium, you could be up to 500 million in revenue. But I mean, small and medium businesses, they tend to, believe it or not, still think that it's not going to happen to me. And that's, even though it happened to this company already twice, they still didn't want to make the investment. And just to put it in perspective, and I'm saying this to you because if you are like, if you have this mindset of like, it's not going to happen to me, or even if you know somebody who's in business and you hear them saying those things, it's crazy. It's not, it is going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everybody. And the crazy thing about it is that there's this like unwillingness to want to accept that as a truth. And it's not like my truth. It's a truth out there. Every single company out there is going to be on the receiving end, at least of an attempted breach. Now, whether it's successful or not, that's a whole different story. But when you have human beings, you have people that are checking email, that are like in a rush, that are not, they're doing 50 things at once, and maybe they're not thinking about what they're clicking on. It's almost a certainty that at some point, through the use of social engineering, somebody's going to send an email into somebody in your company, and they're just going to be like, oh, I recognize it. It's from Microsoft, or it's from Amex, or it's from like UPS or something. And, inevitably the email is asking you to click on a link to reset your password, or click on a link to track your package, or whatever it is. And then so-and-so is in a rush and they click on the link, and next thing you know, boom, you just let somebody in the door into your email. And once they're into your email, it doesn't take long to traverse the rest of your systems, depending on how good they are and what they're really trying to get, and to really like be into your data. So this company I'm telling you about, it happened to them twice throughout 24, and now this is the third time. So I get the phone call. My team was like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, the first thing, obviously, you guys are running the playbook, right? They're like, yeah, of course. So we're running our playbook, let the customer know, change passwords, log the person out. We're going through our typical just to contain the breach. Now, because there was nothing in place to be proactive and to do detection, we didn't know. We found out because the customer called us and said, we just got told that like there's emails going out from one of our email accounts. And after they did some quick research, they found out that the person whose email account it was that was breached wasn't sending these emails. So somebody was in their email account. Turns out they were in the account for 12 hours. That's a long time. And that is a long time to have somebody in your system, right? Having like penetrated your defenses, and they're in there, they can access pretty much anything. And again, that depends on like what you have set up and who it was that was breached. But so they call us, we get in, like I said, we changed the password, we logged the user out, we contained it, and now we have to go do forensics. So that costs a bunch of money, right? Many thousands of dollars, right? For us to actually go in there, have a dedicated engineer, start to go through their email accounts, to go through their servers, to go through their data, and to see what was actually breached, like how far it went, and if there was any other damage, or if there was any damage at all. And hopefully in this case, our initial hope was that it stopped at somebody just accessing email, putting some rules in place. They did change the user's password, right? So they couldn't even log into their email account. And luckily, after we did all that work, we found out that, I don't know why or how, but the person who was in there didn't go any further. Maybe they were, they just hadn't gotten around to it yet. But inevitably, over time, they would have gone further. right? They would have tried to get data. They would have tried to get your client data. They would have tried to get your personal data. They would have tried to get your financial data. They just didn't move quick for whatever reason. This is the third time it happened to this company, okay? So we get it contained, we get it remediated, everything's good. And we say to the person that we deal with, who is the CFO, reports right to the CEO, okay, are you ready to make the investment now? Just to put it in perspective, I believe in the case of this company, it's like $600-700 a month is all we're talking about, right? So that's insurance. Like we're saying, buy a small insurance policy. I don't mean literally insurance. I mean, it is basically like buying an insurance when you're going to put tools in place that give us the ability to do advanced detection, to do prevention, and at least if there is a breach to know like immediately that there was a breach, because the key here is how fast you respond. Like the reaction and the response is, and the amount of time that goes by, that is what sets the tone for how much potential damage is going to happen when you have a cyber breach. So third time, and of course she says, yes, we've got to do it. I can't believe this is the third time. And you know, we're trying to be respectful, but what we really want to say is like, why can't you believe it's the third time? The first time you didn't do anything. The second time you didn't do anything. We've been telling you over and over and over. Every month we're trying to tell you, we're trying to convince you that you should make a small investment every month to actually help reduce your risk. Of course, we can't say that way, but this time around we were much more assertive and we were like, listen, like this is going to keep happening. Okay, your users are not getting trained on phishing, email, security, and awareness. Like they're not doing anything. So I actually am now going to have to reach out and have a conversation with this person one-on-one and be like, listen, like you're going to have to sign like a legal document, like absolving us. We're your IT company. Like, you know, one day your breach is actually going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt your clients, and it's going to hurt your business. And we've literally told you month after month after month for now going on over a year that you need to put something in place. And not only do you need to, you're actually experiencing breaches and you still haven't done it. So it is mind-blowing, right? Now, maybe after the first time, all right, it's not going to happen again. But after the second time to not do it, now it's the third time and she still hasn't signed it. It is absolutely like, it's hard to understand. And this is not a small business that has, no funds. I mean, they're a multi-million-dollar company. I don't know what their revenue is, but I know what they do. I know how many clients they have. I know I could probably take a guess, and my guess is enough to know that they could afford like $700, even $1,000 a month to actually reduce their risk to avoid this happening. Is it a guarantee it's not going to happen? No, it's not a guarantee, but it would significantly reduce the risk of this happening. And even if it did, the fact that we would know about it so quickly and that we could respond to it and we could contain it, and we just don't have that ability now. So if this is you, like if I'm describing you, what I would tell you is think about what the cost of a breach would be. If you're down for an hour, what would that cost you? If you're down for a half a day, what would that cost you? If you're down for one day, what would that cost you? Now think about a week. Okay, I'm going to tell you another story about another client that I have, and they're a much bigger company. They do about 100 million a year. Okay, they have hundreds of employees. They had a breach. Now this is going back 2 years, but they were in a similar situation. They did not have a budget for cybersecurity. They had insurance questionnaires coming through for their cyber policies, and they were kind of fudging the answers, and they were just like, they were kind of living on the edge with this. And I said to the IT director, who is the person that we work with there, right? They bring us in for third-party escalations and things that they can't do in-house. We do all their cloud servers and all their now we do all their cybersecurity. But a big part of what we've always done for them is just strategy. And so when I would sit with the IT director and I would say to her, listen, this is a big risk, her answer to me would be like, listen, I know it, but I can't convince the CEO or the president to actually free up the money for it. So fast forward, Thanksgiving weekend, I think we're going on about 2 years ago, we get a call on Friday. Thanksgiving's on Thursday. We get a call on Friday. They have a breach. All their servers are encrypted. They're in the manufacturing and logistics business. They have clients all over the US, and their clients rely on them pretty heavily for what they supply. They were done. They were shut down. All their servers were encrypted, and not just the servers in the office, because they have a hybrid. There's servers in the office which they use for the warehousing and logistics software and the scanners, and then they have everything that's in the cloud. Now, you might be saying, well, don't you have backups? We back up everything. issue is that these people were so good that they encrypted the server on site, which had multiple virtual machines on it and had a lot of really important data. They were able to traverse, which makes sense, from there to the cloud servers because they had a site-to-site VPN. So they were able to access the cloud. But once they got in there, they encrypted all the cloud servers. That's fine. That's no big deal. However, they were able, and this is the craziest thing, these people were so good, they were able to actually, through to the point where they could even encrypt the backups, okay? None of the tools that should have been in place were in place because they would not put a budget in place for us to actually put the things in place that needed to be in place to avoid this kind of problem. So they're breached, they're down, we get the phone call, and she knew when she called me that it was unlikely that they were going to be able to recover because she knew from all of our conversations that they didn't have what they needed in place. I said to her, yes, we don't have anything in place. We'll do our best. We're going to try and piece it together. We're going to try and figure it out. First and foremost, let's contain it. So we immediately got our chief information security officer involved, our entire SOC team, and we got it contained. We figured out where it came in through. It came in through a workstation, through a phishing email that somebody clicked on a link. Once they clicked on it, they got access to the person's computer. It just so happened that that person was a domain admin, and that once they got in, they had access to everything. I mean, it was almost like they knew exactly which person to target because they got right to the right person. And so they're in, and it didn't take them long. Now, the thing is, I think they might have been in there for a day before anybody knew because they're closed on Thanksgiving. They went back to work the day after Thanksgiving, which is Friday. They come in to find out 6 o'clock in the morning, they can't access anything. I believe they wanted like $5 million. It was many millions of dollars in Bitcoin. And so I said to her, look, don't be paying anybody any Bitcoin. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can piece together. And we did that. We started to work on it. This is just out of sheer luck because we had the backups were all encrypted. I mean, really, they really wiped everything out. We just so happened that a few months before that, we had done my project to upgrade their servers, and we had imaged everything. And I don't even know why, but we forgot to delete all the backups because we don't keep that's terabytes worth of data. It just so happened that we didn't delete the backups of those images. And it took us about 3 days. And over those 3 days, we were able to actually piece the systems back together. Little by little, we put the entire company back together and had them back up and running in 3 days. They should have been out of business. We should not have been able to recover that. And maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe it was meant to be. You know, maybe that was just the universe kind of like having our back. But when it was all said and done, what do you think the CEO of the company says? Why didn't we have anything in place to deal with this? Now, he didn't say it to me. He said it to her. So what do you think happens next? All the quotes, all the plans that we had been, the strategies we had been advising for the past 2 years, he approved every one of them overnight. Everything gets put in place. And I can tell you that since that time, there have been multiple attempts to be breached. Right? So people have been tried to get in so many times. There have been like many cases where if we didn't put everything in place, they would have had a successful breach and it would have been the same thing all over again. But because they suffered that pain, actually, let me take a step back and talk about the pain. They were down for 3 days. They couldn't ship any of their product. They couldn't do any invoicing. They couldn't even look at their client list. They had nothing. So I'm telling you, when I say they were out of business, they were going to be out of business. And the reality now is it took that kind of pain, it took that kind of experience for them to actually put the budget in place to put everything that they needed in place. So as I was saying a minute ago, we get alerts all the time. There's always alerts that somebody clicked an email that they shouldn't have clicked. Somebody's trying to get in from outside the country, whatever the case may be. But now we've got these in place and we can detect it, where we know about it. We can, get on top of it immediately. So again, the message is, do not think that it won't happen to you. Okay. The second story I told you was about a company that does like 100 million. The first story I told you, I'm guessing they're probably somewhere between 5 and 10 million, which is, it's a decent sized small business, 20 employees. And that's probably a lot of the companies out there. It's probably a lot of the people that are going to be watching this fall into that category. You have a business with 5, 10, 15, 20 million a year. You've got 10, 20, 30, 40 employees. You are a target, right? Like, don't think you're not a target because of the size of your company. That's just you convincing yourself that you don't want to spend the money because you don't want to part with the money. So like, I'm being hard on you about this, but the truth is, Like you have to creak open that wallet, right? And you got to like invest the money in cybersecurity. If you don't, just know that you're literally choosing to potentially put everything you've worked for at risk. And it's not just you, it's your family, it's the people that work for you, it's their families, it's possibly your clients. Like that mindset that I'm not going to invest in cybersecurity, I'm not going to put things in place, it's not going to happen to me, I'm not going to train my staff. It's all right. If you were thinking that 10 years ago, all right. If you were even thinking it 5 years ago, not smart to be thinking it, but okay. But you're talking about, we're in 2024. With AI and with the advancements that are happening so fast, it is just absolutely like business suicide to decide that I'm not going to put everything in place that should be in place when it comes to cyber. Now, let me tell you a third story about one of my clients that puts some stuff in place, but not all of it. So they think they're playing this game of like, oh, well, let's put in the cheap stuff, but let's not invest in the stuff that's a little more expensive. So like the stuff that's a little more expensive, and I'm talking like not even expensive, but it's more expensive than the cheaper stuff. Email phishing awareness and security training. It's inexpensive. It's just a little more expensive or a little bit more of an investment because it's based on how many users, how many email boxes you have. So if you have more employees, the cost is a little higher. So relative to like other flat rate monthly services that are not based on a number of users, it begins to look like it's more expensive. Okay. But at the end of the day, if you want your business to be successful, right, and you're not like looking to hurt yourself, your employees, and the business that you've worked so hard for, that you've spent all these years building, if you don't want that to be like out of business or down for days, you really can't think that I'm only going to put certain things in place and not others. It's just not like, it's not a smart approach. So there's another client that I have, and I've been friends with the owner of this company, like good friends for over 20 years. Okay. We served together at a volunteer fire department in Wayne for 15 years. And I initially worked for him when I was in my early 20s. And like, this is a very, very smart guy. I mean, sharp, super sharp. Decides he's only going to put certain things in place. I can only push so hard before it's like, hey, Matt, like, cut the crap. I hear it. I got it. We're only doing what we're doing. And that's kind of where it came to. So they put email security monitoring in place. They did put some network security monitoring in place. We're doing some web filtering and DNS filtering, a lot of the basic stuff. But like the stuff that they should be doing, they just don't want to make the investment in it. Now, I'm talking about $500 a month for a company that does $10 million a year. Like, I don't know what percentage that is, but it's like almost zero relative to the revenue. So like to not put that and to make that investment and to leave your company wide open to a breach it's hard to understand. So every so often I bring it back up to him and he's like, yeah, let me think about it. And then it's like, I got to do all this convincing and demonstrating. And like, this isn't about that he doesn't understand. This is about having a limiting belief, right? And I don't know what his limiting belief is, but I do know that the guy is really smart and he understands the impact. Somewhere in there in his decision-making process, there's something that's clouding like the reality that like a small percentage of an investment, like just doing certain things is going to give me a huge return. It's not the case. You need to put everything in place. You can't just put some things in place. It's like if you want to lose weight, it's like, I'm going to go to the gym and lift weights, but I'm not going to change my diet. Let me see what happens. Like you can't do that. You got to go to the gym. You got to lift weights. You got to do cardio. You got to change your diet. You got to get more sleep. You got to make sure that your hormone levels are in check, right? Like there's all kinds of stuff that happens like when you want to get fit and healthy and maybe lose weight or whatever. You can't just do some. So his attitude is, I'm just going to do a few things. Now, add to that there's an insurance. He has a cyber insurance policy. This guy deals with mission critical systems, deals with major like public companies with the service he provides for them. And actually with his cyber policy has gone on there and said, yep, we've got this. Yep, we've got this. Yep, we've got this. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, no, you don't. And some of the, I mean, he has two-factor authentication. But some of the things he's saying yes to, like he doesn't have. So again, if you're doing that and you have a breach and you go to file a claim, I don't know how you expect that you're going to get paid on that claim, because not only are you going to have a problem, you actually lied to the insurance company. So I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what happens, but I just know that it's not really a smart thing to do. Like common sense says, don't lie on these applications for your insurance policy. So what I'm doing now, and your IT company or your cyber company should be doing the same thing. And if they're not reaching out to you and they're not encouraging you and they're not like, it's almost like a gentle pressure. If you're not getting pressured, but pressure in a good way, because they're looking out for you, because they want the best for you. Not pressure because they just want to make money. It's pressure because they should be applying pressure to you to do the right thing for your business, because they're trying to protect you. And that's where we're coming from. That's where I come from. That's where my whole company comes from. And we're trying to give this kind of guidance, and we're trying to like convince somebody to listen to us. I would say 80% of the people out there that we work with, they take our advice. But it's that small percentage that don't. They're the ones that continually have these breaches. They're the ones that are kind of like dreaming, and they think that it's not going to happen to them. So figure out what your limiting belief is, right? It's either in your mind or somewhere it's in your heart. But something's stopping you. Are you afraid that the $500 or $1,000 a month that you might have to invest, like, are you afraid it's going to put you out of business? Are you afraid that somehow like it's going to be a bad investment? Like, you really got to get then underneath and figure out what is stopping you from making a good decision. Now, it may be that you're a much larger company. Maybe you are a $50 to $100 million company, and your cyber investment, based on the number of people in the company and what the investment would be, maybe it's $3, $4, $5 grand a month. Okay, well, if it's 30, 40, 50 grand a year, again, it's as a percentage of your revenue, and as a zero trust mindset, where you want to ensure that everything that you guys have built and everything that your business stands for, and everything that you're delivering, whether it's a product or a service, that you're not going to have somebody out there somewhere in the world that you've never met, that you'll never meet, hold you hostage. You've got to invest, right? And so you should be getting a little pressure. Even as I'm speaking to you and I'm saying this to you, I'm kind of coming off in a way intentionally to inspire you, to motivate you, to say, all right, I've been lucky. It's gone on long enough. We haven't gotten hit, and this is like a wake-up call, and I'm going to make the investment. That's what this is about. This is about me trying to inspire you to not let your business get impacted. Other thing to consider with cybersecurity is there's a lot of IT service companies out there. They go about, sometimes they're called managed service providers. Sometimes they're just IT service companies. Whatever it is, whoever it is that you're working with, whatever third party is doing your IT, your technology for your firm, a lot of companies out there will say, oh yeah, we do cybersecurity. Well, let me tell you another story. And this story is about how much BS that is. Okay, when an IT company tells you, oh yeah, we do cybersecurity, I'm saying you need to call bullshit, because they all say that because they want to make money from you. There's a set of questions you need to ask when yourself, first of all, and then that provider, second of all, when you want to find out like if they really understand cybersecurity and if they're really equipped to understand how to design, build, strategize, deploy, support, react, respond, everything when it comes to cybersecurity. Are they a good fit for you? Because it's possible that your IT company, when you said to them, hey, can you do cyber for me as well? And they said yes. It's possible that they just put a bunch of tools in place that's just some stuff that they're just charging you for, but they really don't know what they're doing, okay? That is extremely common, and you need to watch out for that. There's a guy that I know who he actually put me on the phone. So he has an IT guy. I'm on the phone talking to him, and I said to him, here's the key. Here's the question you need to ask your IT guy. Ask your IT guy what he's doing for you for cybersecurity. Because this individual, when I said, hey, are you covered with your cyber tools in place? Like, are you guys solid? He's like, oh, yeah, my IT company handles that. And as soon as he said, my IT company handles that, my antennas went up, and I'm like, whoa, you need to be sure. He's like, no, I've been using them for years. I trust them. I go, I'm sure they're great, but what are they actually doing? He's like, I'm not really sure. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem, right? And at the end of the day, you're the owner of the company. You have to be accountable. You have to take responsibility to make sure that the company that you're hiring to do whatever it is. I don't care if they're cleaning the office. I don't care if they're spraying the office for bugs. Whatever they're doing, they got to know what they're doing. They can't just say we know how to do it, right? So this guy that I'm about to tell you about, he says, let me dial him up. I'll put you on mute. Just listen to what he's saying. So he dials up his guy, puts him on speaker, says, hey, so-and-so, tell me what we're doing for cybersecurity. And the guy goes, oh yeah, we're running backups every day, and we're doing your updates on your computers and your servers. We're patching your firewall, and yeah, you're all good. That's not cybersecurity protection. I mean, you should be doing that. You want to fortify the perimeter. You want to strengthen the perimeter. And I mean, these are basic things that of course you should be doing, but that was the answer that I was expecting him to get. So he hangs up the phone, comes back to me, and I'm like, listen, what they just told you, you're wide open. Like, you're going to have a breach. They didn't say a single thing that you should have in place. And yet you think that they've got you covered. They've got your back with cyber. And you have this like sort of sense of false confidence that you're going to be fine. And you come to find out that, no, you're not going to be fine, because they're not doing anything. They're doing things that are barely anything. So this is a very common thing. So what should you be asking first of all, if you do have an outsourced IT company and you think they're doing your cybersecurity, the most important thing that you do is you get them on the phone and you say, I want you to send me an email, and I want you to list every single service that you're providing that you believe is considered cybersecurity. I want to know what's in place. I want to know that my company is secure, that we're doing the right thing, that I've got the right systems in place. I want to know. So the first thing you need to do is take accountability, ask that question. Now, maybe you don't have outsourced. Maybe you have like 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 people working in your company that handle the IT. And maybe you think they're doing it. Okay. We have clients that are like that as well. So I'll get on the phone with their IT director or the IT guy in their company, and I'll begin to ask the questions, because maybe we're doing their cloud, or maybe we're just a strategic advisor. So I'll ask the questions, and it'll come to find out that no, they don't have anything in place. In fact, this just happened with a company that I spoke with in, where are they? I think they're in South Carolina. They're the owner of one of my clients. So one of my clients was purchased. They kept us. They didn't consolidate services. And they were so impressed by what the company is doing that I do IT for, that they wanted to meet me. So I get on the phone, we're asking all kinds of questions. And this company is like $1 billion company. And I'm on the phone with the IT director. And I'm like, oh, so, you guys wanted to kind of learn about what we're doing and how we do it. And so I began asking him questions about what they're doing. I was shocked. I mean, these people are like 10 years behind the curve. Now, that is not uncommon for a very large company. That typically the IT people in larger companies, they're very siloed, meaning that they do what they do. If it's a server guy, it's a server guy. If it's a network guy, it's a network guy. If you're doing level 1 or 2 or 3 support, that's what you're doing. They don't really interact with each other that much. They just like escalate to each other. And that's common, it's typical. I came from that type of environment initially, early in my career. It's not necessarily like an approach that's like reliable. So when he gets on the phone with me and he's explaining to me what they're doing, be careful. But I said, well, there's a lot of things that you're missing here. Like you have opportunities to put more things in place that are not in place. And what do you think happened? I tell him everything that they should put in place. And he talks to his security guy who's on his team. And because people tend to have big egos and the egos get in the way, he goes, I don't know, we're all good and we're fine. And tries to basically say, I don't know what I'm talking about, which I expected. So look, it comes down to accountability, right? If you're that person, if you're an IT director, or when you have people working for you and they're giving you this sort of confidence that things are in place and you're just taking their word for it, I would say trust but verify, because you have no way to know unless somebody actually shows you, and your butt's on the line because you're being held accountable. If there's a cyber breach, the first thing they're going to say is, why didn't this happen? You're going to do the forensics, you're going to do the audit, you're going to see exactly what happened, and somebody's going to turn to you and say, what's going on here? Why wasn't this or that in place? When you get on the phone with the insurance company, you get on the phone with the lawyers, and when they're all on the phone together, they're all going to be like, wait, you didn't have this in place? You mean people had the ability to just log in remotely and there was no MFA? I mean, you can go down a list of things I run across that shock me that still people do, that are just like leaving doors wide open. So what this really comes down to, no matter how small or how big your firm is, you need to make sure that the people that are actually overseeing your cybersecurity, and I'm going to go back to the smaller business version of this conversation, your outsourced IT company probably shouldn't be the one doing your cybersecurity. Now, you might say, well, I own a technology service provider. I'm an MSP. Like, I do cybersecurity. My company does all those things. And you might say to me, well, why are you able to do all of it? And I'll tell you the answer. I was very deliberate about this. right? We've been around for decades. So when I first made the decision that we were going to also begin to add cybersecurity services to the value add services that we deliver to our clients, I knew ahead of time that we had to be experts at it. So we went ahead and became experts at it years ago. Okay, I brought on a chief information security officer who that's what he does. The security operations center that works underneath him, and that's what they do, right? So I brought on experts, right? I didn't say, let's use my level 1, 2, 3 IT engineers and say, oh, we're going to add cybersecurity services. No, I added it as a service with experts who that's all they do, right? And they don't commingle with the other sort of services in my company. I was able to do that because we're a little larger than your typical small, IT service provider or managed service provider. And I understood that you need to keep a separation between church and state. You want to have the correct checks and balances. You need to ask your firm that's doing your service if they're set up that way. Because if they're telling you that they're doing cybersecurity for you and they're just throwing some tools on your computers, and the same people that are doing your IT support are doing your cybersecurity remediation and cybersecurity services, that's not good. Because that's like having the mouse in charge of the cheese. It's like they're auditing themselves. They're checking themselves. There has to be separation. And that's like a key message here. Now, if you are like the guy that I told you who calls up his IT company and they're like, yeah, we got you covered. We're doing backup. Everybody should be doing backup. That's not cybersecurity. That's common sense, right? And by the way, common sense ain't so common. I just picked up a new client. We're onboarding them. They had no backups in place. We literally onboarded them from another IT service company. The other IT service company gives us all the information. And we're like, what about the backups? They're like, oh yeah, they don't have any. They didn't want to invest in it. And I'm like, what? I literally had a call this morning with the owner of the company who had a different understanding. He's like, what are you talking about? They told us they were backing things up. You're telling me we have no backups? I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, you have no backups. So again, trust but verify. So getting back to cybersecurity, doing backups, doing patching, doing updates, like this is basic stuff that you should be doing, right? If your IT company says that that's what they're doing, you should fire them right now. And you should bring a company on that actually understands your business, understands how to protect you, understands how to serve you, and understands how to actually help you grow and actually has your business's best interest in mind. Because that is just lazy thinking, and it's just putting you at risk. So those are, I think, 4 stories I shared with you. They're all different things. They're all things that happen. They're all too common. Maybe some of them or bits and pieces of those stories kind of resonate with you. Maybe there's some other situation that you found yourself in that is different than the stories I just told. But the key is you've got to be proactive. You have to. This is not my opinion. Okay. I am telling you, this is a fact. You have to choose to want to protect your business. It's a choice. That's why I'm saying it's not my opinion. The fact of the matter is, if you choose to not invest in cybersecurity, you're choosing to increase the risk, right? And that risk being increased also increases the likelihood of the actual impact of the breach, because you're just not paying close attention to it. You're not taking it seriously. With that, I am going to share with you this. If you have questions, or you're interested in hearing from me what other clients of ours do, or other clients who have come to us, what their situation was like when they came to us, and how we went in, assessed the situation, and through an IT risk assessment, we were able to really uncover every risk in the business and then present them with actionable information that was able to be, you could weigh the risk and reward based on your investment, and like have a real conversation and know, at least make informed decisions. You should reach out to me. You should send me a message. You could even go to the homepage of our website. There's a little button there and it says, I think it says free assessment. You can go on there and you can answer all the questions, and you can do an IT risk assessment yourself, a cyber assessment, I should say. And it actually gives you the steps of what to do for anything you answer that's not the best answer. It actually tells you what to do. It's all free. So I would encourage you to go check that out. But at the very least, feel free to reach out to me. There's no cost. I meet people all the time. I give free advice all the time. Sometimes we end up having a connection and it just feels right and we end up working together. Sometimes we don't, but at the end of the day, if it helps you, then it's helping your business. That's very satisfying. So I'm happy to do it for you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the stories, and I want to thank you for watching.